Welcome to everybody that can hear me. Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Armbruster. I'm the Director Data Career of the AI Guild. And we're gathered here today because there are 15 entry-level roles in play. I'm going to talk about these. I'm also going to give you today the background information to this, but also ideas on how to make your CV and LinkedIn stand out, so that for this type of roles like we're offering here or other roles that you might be interested in, your application is more likely to get noticed. And then, yes, we are actually collecting applications for the 15 entry-level data roles, datacareer.eu/academy. If you want to go there now, you can please do that right away if you so like. I'm now going to switch into presentation mode, so you're going to see me here on the side while I take you through some of the stuff that I would like to talk about. We also have actually a chat window open, so I have a feedback here that you can actually hear me, which is great. Thank you. So if you have any questions or any comments or want further information, please use the chat function to let me know. I will pick up everything that comes in and is relevant to what we're talking to about today and answer in the about hour that we have together between now and the next full hour. Okay, so what's going on here? There are 15 entry-level roles in play as a data analyst, data engineer, or data scientist. The AI Guild network, 1,600 specialists in data analytics, data science, machine learning, MLOps, deep learning, NLP, and so on, is involved in this, in making this happen, in working together with a partner company called in German PPI, in English PPI, which is a software consulting company with headquarters in Hamburg and offices, for example, in Hanover, Düsseldorf, Frankfurt, Munich, but also Zurich and Paris. So with a footprint mainly in Germany, but also beyond its borders a bit, that is looking to significantly grow its data team, which is why these 15 entry-level data roles are there. And it's a special kind of deal. So the point here is that this is full-time, permanent employment contracts with your standard industry salary at entry level in Germany, which is between 50,000 and 70,000 euros per year. So full-time, permanent, which addresses a pain point in the market at the moment, which is that it often takes very long to search. And that even if you do your training and you do your online training, you do your Udemy, Coursera, Udacity, or maybe you've joined a bootcamp, this still means that you still continue to search for your role. And maybe some of you have been searching for a long time. So there's something there in terms of matching candidates to companies, despite the availability of training that is, for the candidates at least at the moment, I think not working very well. So the point of this deal here is the full-time permanent employment contracts come with training. So, and the training that is then provided for 3 months in a bootcamp style by the leading experts is actually available to everybody that has signed for the employment contract. So you're getting the full package. You're getting the inclusive package that consists in providing employment plus the training. This is why I am here today and also ready to take your questions, precisely because that's what's available. So why are we doing this? What's going on here? As you are here today, I guess you're interested in a data career. And as you perhaps know, The field is still wide open. It is growing very rapidly. So we have some data for 2017 that showed that internationally one could count about 50,000 professionals. By the end of 2020, one could count about 500,000 professionals. So it's a still rapidly growing field that where in many ways demand still outstrips supply, and where no matter where you come from, if you're highly numerate, you have skills around Python and SQL, you have a keen interest in data, you understand data quality, and you want to make this work, you can build a data career. And as this quote here from Jean-François Garnier says, within 4 to 5 years, it takes you to a senior position and possibly even a leadership position in the field. And that is still true, and probably also true for the next 5 years. So it makes sense if you're interested to go down that route. The market has also changed. So while, data scientist was declared the sexiest job of the 20th century a decade ago, there was, for the first decade, very often a scenario where there was a lone data scientist or a very small team. That is changing. So teams are typically now bigger. Teams are more specialized in their roles. And as this number here shows, 99% of the people working in this field aren't based in research, so it's not about inventing new tools. 99% of the people are actually active in implementing AI, so they're active in industry making this work. And then what's become more important to you, and where I'm also happy to have your first questions, is actually, what kind of data role do I seek? So given my interests, and given where I'm coming from, am I more a data analyst, more a data scientist, and more a data engineer? In case not entirely clear to you, you can ask me about the differences. But in the first instance, think about it like this. So a data analyst, of course, has lots of data in front of her or him, but will typically use these data to provide visualizations or to do reporting so that humans can make decisions. A data scientist will also have lots of data, but will actually typically look to models and algorithms for automated decision making, as in, for example, a recommender system that is used on e-commerce websites. So in one case, analysts more oriented to human decision makers, data scientists typically more oriented to automations that are based on machine learning. And then the data engineer, of course, is the person doing the plumbing. So the pipelines, and these pipelines, of course, may feed analytics or data science, both of these. And often data engineers are also important for building the platform, particularly then also in the data science sense. So the platform that the models run and where there is kind of like continuous integration, continuous deployment, that can also be part of the data engineering role or perhaps machine learning engineering role. So this is your broad overview of this, and you need to find out what you're interested in, and also, what the market does. And actually, at the moment, lots more people want to be a data scientist than an analyst or an engineer, even though, companies need all three roles. And as far as I'm aware, the split is increasingly even between those roles. So it's really worth considering which data role you seek. Okay, first question coming in from Hilal. So is a woman looking for a career restart eligible for these roles? Yes. So if you like, you can say a bit more about where you're coming from or how this is looking for you. But yes, so these 15 roles are at entry level. They're aimed for people that perhaps already have some industry experience, but they're equally aimed at people that have completed a master's degree, or people that have completed a PhD, or perhaps people that have a PhD and are working as a postdoc in academia. And from this, you can already see where I'm going with this. So the entry-level roles are actually also for people looking for a career transition, a change in their working life, and therefore looking for a career restart. I can sort of imagine what you mean precisely. You're also eligible for this. The requirement on the side of PPI is that you have at least 12-month experience with Python. So this is a hard requirement. You'd need to be able to show this. So I have from Mohammed a follow-on question about, is it possible for a fresher to enter into these roles with no prior work experience? Yes, precisely. So if you come with a master's or a PhD, then yes. If you come only with a bachelor, I don't know. There may be exceptions, but typically one would assume that advanced levels of numeracy would require having completed a master's degree with some relevant education. Okay, then Ranjit is asking here how you selected candidates for the role. So actually we don't. It is PPI that does this. So the point here is precisely, of course, that PPI is actually hiring. They're providing the full-time permanent employment contracts. We're helping them in looking at the market, also speaking with people initially, but it's PPI's decision. And of course, technical skills are really important, but it isn't the only thing. It's, of course, also how you would fit into the company, what other experience you have, and so on and so on, which goes to a question, the next one that is coming here from Alina. If my German is not C1 level, can I join the program and show my level on the way? So this is a position that is in Hamburg. Something that I've noticed also over the past years, and perhaps you've also noticed, the more companies embrace data, the more the data is local. And I don't know, as a quip, it's not a Kaggle data set. It's actually real data that a company has, perhaps from its users or its customers or its clients. Therefore, the data is local. And the more local it is, the more it is likely to be in the local language, and the more local languages matter. So, Alina, to your question, if my German is not C1 level, if it's in the so-called B range, please do apply. Particularly if you can show that you are making an effort to become conversationally fluent, then yes, this works. And then, even if it's numerical data, the columns and the rows may be in German, so you need to be able to understand that. And at the end of the day, also move to a position where you don't have to look it up in the dictionary all the time. And then if it's text data, it might be in German altogether. So there is a need to learn local languages as data becomes more important to companies, wherever you are. True for Germany and any other country. Okay, then back to Hiral, who said how to apply. So I'm just going to show you the caption again. All you need to do is go, please, to datacareer.eu/academy. Scroll to the end and you will find a form that you can fill in where you can leave your details and ideally perhaps also upload your CV. Okay, back to the questions. So I have here a question from Maja. Does advanced Matlab experience replace the 1-year Python requirement? Tricky question. Actually, tricky question. So, experience, for example, with the C languages, say C++, wouldn't fully replace the requirement that you know some Python, but say if you have C++ and you've been doing Python for a few months, that's probably not a problem. If you have been doing advanced MATLAB, tricky question. I don't actually, Maya, so don't have a hard and fast answer. What I can say is that I've noticed over the years that MATLAB has become less important. So there was a time 5 years ago, you went to a university to a group of highly numbered PhDs and you said, so who's using MATLAB? All the hands went up. You said, who's using Python? Half the hands went up. You said, who's using R? A third of the hands went up. Now, if you ask online or now post-COVID also in person, actually you ask for Python, basically all the hands go up. And for MATLAB, it's now only about half. And MATLAB isn't a language that is typically used in industry at all. It's very academic and there are very few companies that have use for it. So Python at the moment is actually the universal language. And then back to Maya, have you used it at all? Or can you make a good argument why your MATLAB would make you a real fast learner for the Python and perhaps also the SQL? Then you can look at it. And if it's not good enough this time, my answer would tell you what you need to do next. Okay. Then I have Mohammed asking, is this a remote opportunity? No, it's not. It requires you to be in Germany. You can in Germany choose the location you want to work from, but it's not. And Also, from where I'm sitting, a comment on this. So, COVID has indeed created a lot of remote opportunities. And I think this will not actually continue exactly in the way we perhaps anticipated. And I'm also not really sure that remote opportunities in data will sprout. I'm saying this because a remote season during COVID has meant that some of the American tech giants that you all know out of California or Seattle have been hiring more remotely in Europe. I know some of those people. And all the conversations I've had, actually, all the conversations I've had, the people have been pointing out that they've been hired as a data scientist, but they're actually not really working on data or working very little on it and just doing software engineering jobs that are easy to do remotely because you have a large code base and you're just upgrading, debugging, improving, implementing a change. But that when it comes to the data work, it actually turns out that it's not being done remotely. And also for the company that we're doing, so they are a B2B company. They work with data on with and for other companies. And it actually requires talking to those companies. And yes, a lot can be done remotely, but also only really if the personal connection is already there. So no remote. And now that I've talked about it, also please be aware if you're thinking that remote data jobs are available, I am not confident that this is going to be a big thing in data. Next question I have before I will go back to this. Does postgraduate work in data, does a postgraduate degree in data science work? Yes, Arjun, it will. Okay, so before there are more questions coming in, the company that we're collaborating with, PPI here, to do the hiring and training is a consulting company that is itself already a mid-sized company and works with corporates. So it's not a startup. It also doesn't typically work for startups. You're in a field where you're consulting / corporate. This isn't actually, so sometimes one thinks, oh, old economy versus new economy, but actually no. So this is a mid-sized company that has been specialized in software for a number of decades, is really good at this, and through its software competency has been selected by large corporates in the banking, insurance sector, and payments sector to work with them on software and data problems. And important for you is to kind of think about, do you want to do this? Would this work for you? So consulting has changed through COVID and is likely to remain changed, which means consulting means that you do have to travel to the business client. But it also typically means that you are no longer on the premises of the business client, like every week or all days of a week or something like this. You interface with the client from time to time, and typically the client will expect you to come to them rather than coming to you. But in between, you'll be working from the company that you're working for, so PPI. There may even be home office regulations and so on. But that, again, it doesn't translate into remote opportunities. You need to be in Germany. Okay, so on to the next one. Is a professional degree in data science required to become a data scientist? Asks Kalyan here. So no. I'm going to use this slide here to answer that question. So something that I want to point out with this slide, and then also with the next slide, which is more focused on AI and fintech, is data is becoming abundant, and analytics and machine learning applications are becoming abundant. In most industries, they now cover a lot of potential use cases in different areas of the business. This is what this shows you, yeah? Whether we're doing credit scoring or marketing or business finance or market research or insurance or quantitative assets management, data, machine learning, analytics, it all applies. So this still means that the need, the demand for new data people outstrips the supply, which means that you do not need a data science degree to become a data scientist or a data engineer or a data analyst, and quite the opposite in my experience. So yes, of course, we have all those online providers, that actually still need to prove that their certificates really give you a job. Then we have all the boot camps that kind of are in the same field. And on top of it, we have all the universities now. And in Germany, actually, every university in every village has some master degree in data, because everybody sees the demand, wants to kind of cash in on it and provide education along those lines. Because there's money in this, either from the people taking the education directly or because it's subsidized by the state or whatever it is. It also makes sense because we really need to become a more data-driven culture. But I used to be the director of a bootcamp, and I've been around in this field for 5+ years now, looking also at people transitioning into a data career. So a data science degree as such from a university that has like 2 years experience with this means very little. What means a lot is 3 things. One is that you can show your numeracy. And numeracy is an investment that you've made throughout your whole education and professional work life, right? It's the type of degree that you have, and within the degree, how much you handled numbers or data already, number one. Number 2 is that you actually made a real decent effort at learning the universal language Python and its universe around it, because companies that build teams need team members to be able to step in for other team members. So it's no use if you have 5 different programming languages and no universal joined thing that you can rely on. And for the time being, that's Python, nothing else. That's number 2. And number 3 is actually your your prior experience with data, your exposure to it, the way you already have handled data, be it in your education or in your working life or through portfolio projects, but you've had exposure and you understand, some of the challenges and also pitfalls of handling data. That really makes a difference. Okay, on to the next question while taking us through this. Is this the first batch? Yes. How many batches will be there in future? So Ranjit, the idea actually is, this is a pilot. As far as we can tell, the pilot is working very well. What I really, really like about it is this combination of full-time permanent positions with training. And the training on top of it will be done on the use cases relevant to the company. So all the use cases will be from finance, insurance, and payments. And the training on the use cases will be delivered by experts in the field. So people that have done this often for a very long time and really know the ins and outs, ideally also on real data. It's not a capstone project. It's not a little finger exercise. It's not, oh, let's do another sentiment analysis based on the Twitter API. It's none of that. It's really important key industry use cases with matching data that really make a difference to the company that is hiring you and to the business model of the company and to the customers or clients of the company. Now, we're in the process of proving that this is a superior solution. If we manage to do that in the next 3 months, the plan, of course, is to make this solution the leading solution on the market. So yes, to all intention, this is just the first batch. Next question. Is it possible to apply with the data science bootcamp certificate? This is from Raghda. Yes, Raghda, it is possible to apply with the data science bootcamp certificate. It goes back to my point earlier. So I also look at applications. I speak with candidates. I've seen LinkedIn profiles. Maybe some of you that are listening today have 10 or 20 certificates on LinkedIn. We need to look at this. We need to look at this as a community. Yeah? So having 10 certificates on LinkedIn but not getting a job offer is not a good situation. So that's why we're changing it. The point here is you get an employment contract and then you get the training. So also this matters. Yeah, the sequence matters. So we're looking to hire together with PPI, and then the people who get hired get the training. And then the training is for free because you're being hired. So, but yes, if you've already completed some, that's true. It also answers the question of whether your Python skills are sufficient. So if this is a data science bootcamp that was based on Python, it answers the questions around technical adaptability. It will be yes. Next question I have is, will it work for data analytics and visualization too? Yes, Mohammed, it will. There's more questions coming in, which I will answer. And while I do that, I'm also going to actually help you structure your application better for this, but also for any other role. So over the years, we've built up some expertise around what an industry-ready CV should look like. Now, I do not want you to think that this is a template that you can fill in, but it's a structure you can use. It's a way to think about your CV, and by the way, also about your LinkedIn profile, and the must-have information it needs to include, and also other pointers you can put in to increase your chances of getting more relevant interviews, okay? Because you are putting in stuff that the companies are looking for, and also know how to handle, know how to process, know how to evaluate, know how to use to make a decision to interview you. And this is really the most important thing. So there's lots of talent in the field. Actually, I don't think there's any longer a shortage of talent, even though demand is still very high, but there's not necessarily a shortage of talent any longer. But what is the key problem still is the matchmaking between the market and the companies and the talent or even the experts, and for the companies to find exactly the talents they want to hire, which means you need to live with the idea that you need to accept that there may be 5, 10, 15, even 20 interview processes that you have to go through before you get the right offer on the table. So Industry Ready CV is really about helping you to understand if what you can do to get more interviews. So Ahmed is asking, so if you're based out of Germany and I don't have sponsorship, in principle, yes, you can apply. I'm going to just share the link again for you to look here. It's called datacareer.eu/academy. And then something about what's changing here. So I've mentioned the proliferation, not just of online learning, but also of boot camps and of university degrees. This means that most companies now have a sufficient local talent pool. This is particularly true for the European Union. So the proliferation of master programs in data science means that there are now lots of talents inside Europe with a visa that is valid. Could be only a student visa, but student visas do, of course, convert well into blue cards or employment visas, and so on and so on. So people inside the European Union, for example, that already have a valid visa and therefore are easier to hire for companies because they don't have to go through the sponsorship issue. So this is something you need to look at and be aware of and ask yourself, if you don't have sponsorship, what are your chances of getting the visa? And can you get, for example, a job seeker visa from a European Union country? Because a job seeker visa, again, translates into an employment visa easily, almost automatically. So this has been changing over the past 2 years, and please be aware of the changing landscape. So actually, any scope for SaaS, if you have it, it's a nice have, but it's not a must have in the data. Okay. Actually, let me go back and just introduce this so that I can talk to the details. So the Industry Ready CV has 4 elements. You get considered for interview by highlighting your technical skills. I will show you exactly how you can do that. The point here is it's not good enough to just list your technical skills. You need to profile them. I earlier said data analyst, data scientist, data engineer, ML engineer, or something like this. There needs to be a profile. It needs to be clear what your technical skills are good for. That's what gets you the interview. You also should make an effort to actually demonstrate your business skills. And if you're having a master or a PhD, stuff you've learned as a student that would transfer to business, because it gives them more confidence to reach out to you for an interview, because they see that you've asked yourself what kind of communication, project management, analytic skills, or other stuff that's relevant in business you are aware of, have used, and therefore, can also use immediately once you're employed. Then something I've already spoken about, that you need to show your data experience clearly. This is and actually show it clearly in a separate kind of way that it's easy to comprehend. I will come to how you can do this in a minute. And then you should focus your search. So candidates very often think I should be open to all opportunities. But the problem with being open to all opportunities is that you might be attractive to no one. If you can voice a clear preference and you know you want to be in health, or you know you want to be in fintech, or you know you want to be in automotive, or you know you want to be in, I don't know, IT, um, a company can recognize that you're looking for that type of job, perhaps in a particular country or a particular town, in a startup or a corporate, and you have certain kinds of preferences. And you stating your preferences means that somebody else can look at that and say, I actually match those preferences. I have an offer that meets that person's preference. So then it's actually interesting to talk about, to talk, because there's some ground on which you can discuss things. Yeah. So find out what your preferences are and actually focus your search, because it makes it easier for companies to do. So I'm showing you examples of how this works, and you can look at those examples if you have a screen in front of you. I will also introduce some of them while I keep answering some of your questions and going through this presentation to make the most of our time. So what is the current average annual gross salary of a data engineer and a data scientist in Germany? It depends. So entry level, you should expect between 50 and 70, exceptionally more than 70. As a senior, you would be correspondingly from 65 to 80 to 95, possibly 100 if you're a good senior. Depends. So this is Damien asking. And then from there on upwards. Something that is still true is that the salaries for data people in Europe are not yet matching those in the United States or in California. But there are exceptions of people that have researched this well and placed themselves and actually are able to show value. So 150K is now also possible in Europe for a real expert. And you will find that some of the companies that say in Amsterdam or possibly in Berlin and so on, that really require this technical expertise and are looking to you to have a true competitive advantage in the market, then we're also talking 150 and 200,000 euros per year. What makes a true data scientist? Oh, that's a wonderful question from Kalyan, and actually not possible to answer in a sentence. I would like to answer it like this, since we're looking at entry-level roles. When I was a director of a bootcamp and I had to filter applicants and learn how to find the right participants, and find the right participants also to really look at employability, because what I wanted was participants that get hired straight out of the bootcamp, preferably sign an employment contract while still at the bootcamp, but under no circumstances search for more than 3 months, because this is your lifetime, it's expensive, and really I don't want you to search for longer than is absolutely necessary. So what was I looking for? And have not a huge data set, but some solid evidence that it makes a difference in terms of getting hired, but also makes a difference in terms of like 2-3 years down the line. Did they move into positions with responsibility? Did the salary really increase, and so on and so on? Okay. The one thing that made the biggest difference is numeracy and data experience. It is not actually how many hours of coding you had prior to making this career choice. It's not. And that's quite interesting. So in my own circle, there's always been debates, about do software engineers make great machine learning engineers, and or do you really rather want to have, say, a high energy physicist or a radio astronomer or biologist that has a lot of experience with data, or just somebody from an academic background that has high levels of numeracy, possibly also data experience, or also first work experience in analytics. And then levels of numeracy really make a difference. And also actually getting data, being able to evaluate data, understanding the nature of the data in your domain. Those two things were more important than prior coding experience in the career progression, so to speak, over the next 3 to 4 years. And I think this is true of the field as a whole. So, everybody's in a way new to Python. And yes, with 3 months or 6 months Python at the moment doesn't work. You need 12, 24, and so on. But lots of people have that because they already do it at university or Udacity or whatever they're doing. And then this is something that you can ramp up and also something you can get better at. But if you don't bring the numeracy to start with, it's harder. Okay, next question coming up. I'm based out of Germany. We already had that. You can apply, but the sponsorship might be a hard issue. My German language is just entry level. Could I apply? So in this language universe, when your language level is a so-called what is known as A1, A2 by international standards, it won't work. So if there's a German language requirement, it won't work. Another way of looking at this is, if the interviewer started the interview in German, could you at least continue with the interview about yourself, your life, your studies, your last role, your expectations in German or in the local language for like 10 to 15 minutes before you have to say, okay, for the rest, more technical part of the interview, can we please switch to English, the standard universal professional language? That is acceptable. Yeah, that's acceptable. But is there enough fluency to believe that you have made an effort to master local language for everyday uses? Can you express yourself? Are you also confident to express yourself? So you do need to look at that. And to reiterate an earlier point, this is going to get more important every year in all countries, not just in Germany. Okay, I want to quickly explain how this technical skills look and then show you a couple more examples. So what you have here is a technical skills for somebody that is actually going in the engineering direction, right? So this is a choice in the engineering direction. So somebody at Python actually says that R and SQL are new, and that's fine. And then it says here ETL pipelines, then data processing, and then DevOps. And then it gives examples like, ETL pipelines, I've handled 10 plus terabytes of data, or I've built a search pipeline, or when the data processing, I've done a signal search, used a convolutional neural network, done something around image analysis or something like this. So it gives a profile that points to a particular role, engineering really, gives evidence and shows prior experience and makes absolutely clear how that has worked. Yeah? And then to give you another example of technical skills, there's a question here, which are the most important skills that are required? Goes back to the numeracy and the Python really. And then your contracts to so I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Juhei. Yes, thank you for that. So your contract starts from January 2023 in Hamburg. You found specific information. Is the work remote? No, you have to choose one of those 5 cities. That's exactly the point. That's also why they're listed. You'd have to choose one of those cities as your base. Added information. If you're not in one of those cities, your employer is willing to provide you with a relocation bonus and support you. The next question, are there certain certificates that are a must for a data engineer or data scientist? From Damien. No, there aren't. They're useful. They signal that you've looked at this. They've signaled that you've perhaps completed projects or done online courses, but none of those are actually must-have. What's must-have is those technical skills, and I'm going to quickly go somewhere else and show you another must-have. The other must-have is this. So technical skills are a must-have, and actually prior experience with data are a must-have. And of course, the two go together. They go together in the sense that if you've been learning your Python, and even if it's only an online course or a certificate or something like this, you will have handled data. Maybe it was a toy data set, or maybe it's a Kaggle competition, or maybe it's a capstone project, but you do have data experience. And a question back to you is, do you have an idea which industry do you want to be in? Take the big ones, health, finance, automotive, something like this. And are you actually, in your learning, consistently choosing data sets from that domain? I mean, if you're doing a PhD, you're also in a domain. When you're doing a PhD, sometimes the problem is, of course, if you're doing a PhD in radio astronomy, there is no radio astronomy industry, right? So you're going somewhere else. But nevertheless, data experience. So, and then And then back to my radio astronomer. So the radio astronomy experience when doing a master's or a PhD or any other academic degree that you're doing is actually absolutely valuable. It's totally relevant. It's totally relevant because this is like real data that you've been processing for weeks or months, depending on the length of your project. For a PhD, possibly for a long time. You also were doing it in a real life context. So the data was probably not clean. Maybe you needed instrumentation to get the data in the first place. You need to manage the stakeholders. There was a budget. All the things that really always matter in life around data and being able to run it successfully were also there. So super. Any sort of data experience that you had in academia, just like, of course, in a job as an analyst or data scientist, that is really very, very valuable. You got that? You please highlight it, puts you ahead of the competition. If you don't have that, and you're learning online or you're learning at university and you're doing certificates or masters, the one thing that you can really do to help yourself is choose a domain and build a portfolio that is relevant to an industry. Okay. And I've seen the other side of this. People do online certificates and they go to boot camps, and then they have this little Twitter analysis that, I don't know, tracks something. Then they have this Kaggle toy data set that does something else. And then they have a third that is based on some open data set from I don't know where. It doesn't work for an employer. It doesn't work because they look at it and thinking, yeah, okay, so they've been practicing their piano skills, but it's like practicing their piano skills. I don't actually know how to relate to this. But you build it, you do it 3 times with data from the same industry. Somebody is interviewing you in that industry. You can start to have a really meaningful conversation about data, data quality, where it comes from, data processing, the problems of getting it into a pipeline, and all this stuff. So that makes a big fat difference. So please highlight your data experience and write something about it like you see here. Okay. Then Juhei, I'm happy that I got it right. If you're based in Berlin, the answer is you'd have to move. Okay, so for this particular role, you would not be able to stay in Berlin. You'd have to relocate. Next question I got here. How can we modify CV and cover letter to get an interview for senior data scientist position? Okay, hopefully also pronouncing this correct, Mosgan. You need to give me context. Are you in Europe or are you applying from outside of Europe? And why do you want a senior data science position? So if you could please add that, I can give you an answer. That's perhaps also relevant to other people. While I'm waiting for that, I am going to show you. So I've showed you the technical skills. Here's another example. Yeah, goes data analysis in the direction of IoT. Yeah, which also, for example, predictive maintenance use cases in that area. So there you go. It's a profile. Okay. Another thing that is important for industry to see for your application to be successful is this transferable skills thing. So this is skills that you have acquired in your life that you think are relevant to the type of business that you're applying to. And it's not just communication or so-called soft skills. It can also be hard skills like hardware design and programming. That's why you're looking at it here. It can also be analytics skills that are hard skills. Yes, of course, it's also organization and communication. And yes, it might be coaching or it's project management or something like this. It's also potentially leadership because after all, we do need lead data scientists. So what have you got there? And then again, select. A list of 10 is not impressive. A list of 3, each with 2 bullet points, is a clear picture. If your examples are convincing, that's impressive because you stand for something. Maybe you are, apart from being a great data person, also the person that can be trusted with project management and to deliver stuff on time, in budget, and in the required quality. That is really a great skill to have inside a company to make things work, yeah, if you have those. Or maybe you are a born communicator, or you've worked really hard in your life to be a communicator, and you can now talk with people. They listen to you, you know how to listen, and that's how you can get things done. While we're at it, and you're looking at me, so you see me talking here on video, and I'm broadcasting it to the world. Now a long time ago, but I was so by nature I'm actually introverted. I was a shy person. I had difficulties communicating, and I had over very many years I spent a lot of time learning this until I finally got comfortable standing in front of a stage, talking to 50 people, and then 100 people are doing this online thing. So it can also be learned, and if you've got something like this, make it a highlight on your CV. Yeah? Tell people, build a section that really just shows your 3-4 key business or transferable skills. Here's another example for you to look at while I go back to this question. I'm in Berlin and have permanent residence, B2 German language level, and I'm working as a data scientist in digital health. Okay, cool. So, and now you want to know how you go from that to senior, right? You go to senior by demonstrating, of course, your experience, but also actually by demonstrating that you have specialized. Okay, so switching between those two. If you're in digital health, then of course you'd be a senior data scientist in the health, pharma, and related sectors, not in a bank, and probably also not in IT, because you now have domain knowledge, right? And what you need to highlight is the combination of your domain knowledge and your data competency, and how that is valuable to a company. And how you have benefited from working with data in that domain for a while, and how that qualifies you to have impact. And actually, the impact is, so to speak, as a data scientist, to build models that are ready to go into production. I think, to my mind, that's what I would assume. Now, I don't know your company. I don't know exactly what you're working in, but generally, and then also specifically, right? So you want to be a senior data scientist. Okay, a senior data scientist needs to build models that are ready to go into production. They need to be accurate, not full of bugs, usable by somebody else. You might also actually need to be able to take a lead on doing this. And you might need to be somebody who can find new use cases where you can tell the company, look, this is a use case for data. This is a use case for data with machine learning. If we do this, let's do the numbers. I think we can make X more revenue, or we can make X savings, and this will impact the bottom line of our company for Y. So these kinds of arguments, that's when you're senior. It means the company looks to you to create value, and the colleagues around you would come to you and say, the juniors or the others would come to you and say, can you lead? Can you help? Can you advise? Can you make? So now 3 things to summarize it, right? Creating value for the company, providing technically absolutely sound stuff that can go into production, and being a go-to point for the people around you. That, beyond any doubt, makes you a senior. If you want help with that, actually the AI Guild can help you with that. You can go to datacareer.eu and look what we have on the competency profile. We do competency profiles for seniors, also for seniors that get hired by Google. So we have now years of experience with what that looks like. Okay, so this interview, questions about the interview process and how that works from Ranjit. So I have talked to you about, just to recap, so technical skills, we've looked at the business skills, I've talked about the data experience. Actually, you can find online the Data Career CV with further information. The last thing I want to look at with today is this search and mission statement, while taking some final questions over the last 5 to 10 minutes. So how does this work, what we're doing here in terms of the hiring process and the interview process? So at the moment, we're in the process of finding the 15 people that get employed and get the training. And it is as it is, and it is actually as you know. So of course, at the moment, we're doing a lot of marketing. We're trying to reach a significant number of potential candidates. And this, of course, is for the candidates, of course, for you, so to speak, that you're looking for your employment. This is actually not so great, because it's the truth is like this. A company has one data scientist position to fill. And sometimes a company is actually just filling one. Sometimes companies are filling more. But let's take the case where a company is filling one, right? So they get everything ready. They do the job description, they advertise, and so on and so on. And what they really want is 100 to 150 applications. The problem with that, of course, is that they want to say no to 149 people and just take the one. And this is what makes this process so unnice, so lengthy, so full of disappointments. You actually now have HR people sometimes complaining that they get ghosted by candidates, not just companies ghosting the candidates, but candidates now also ghosting companies. And there's something there that isn't really efficient. also from experience, people have tried optimizing this for a long time now. Hard to do. And then this means with your 150 applications, you probably do something like half or 2/3 go out immediately, and the one remaining third actually gets a screening interview. So say 50 people get a screening interview, and then after the screening interview, you yet need to make another decision how many people really go into the interview process. And if you have just one position, then in this screening process, you would want to go from 50 to say like 15. Because the truth of the matter is, a company that is looking to fill one position cannot actually do more than 15 interviews. They don't have all day. And I have now also been doing screening interviews, and I can tell you that it's really time consuming. It's also tiring, and you actually depend on the candidates to book an appointment. I, for example, depend on them to book an appointment, and I actually also rely on them to show up at the time. And it's problematic for me if candidates, for example, in applying, reach out to me on LinkedIn and says, "Can we have a quick chat?" The hard answer is no, we can't have a quick chat. If I had a quick chat with everybody, then I would spend more than my working week having quick chats. So to be fair to everybody, actually, you can't. Okay. The next thing is they get invited for a screening interview. Then there's this temptation before the interview to send additional information or to try and get in touch earlier. Actually, please don't. Because again, you then have to offer this to all candidates, or you yourself think your process is no longer fair and transparent, at least as fair and transparent as it can be. So this is difficult, and it's rather a no all the time, because one, you don't have the time, and two, if there are several people involved and at least internally you want to show how this is progressing, then the rules need to be the same for everybody. So the process takes time. It's full of pitfalls. And the one thing that you can do for yourself when you're in it is to stay totally professional 100% of the time, and accept that, yes, this is your application, and yes, you're applying, and yes, it's totally disappointing if you don't get the interview or you don't get the job. But actually, in that sense, it isn't about you. And it isn't about you because the typical situation is that a company, per position they want to have filled, want to 50 or 100 or 150 applications. So statistically speaking, your chances are unfortunately always slim, and you never know who the other 49 people are. Yeah, so it isn't about you at all. And the best thing you can do for yourself is stay totally professional in the process and just let it go. I think that is the best you can do here. Okay, search and mission statement. So I'm showing you some of this. Maybe you've read this, so I'm going to show you the next one. Now, in my experience, if you do this really well, also do this really well on your LinkedIn profile in your About section, those 3 sentences alone can get you an interview, and they can put recruiters on your trail, particularly if you do it well, if you do it clever on LinkedIn. So your LinkedIn profile at the top obviously needs to say data scientist, and a good profile says data scientist. A good profile doesn't say data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, Python, SQL, da. Because then again, you're just advertising all the keywords. And yes, maybe you're optimizing for the search algorithm, but for the human eye, this is totally confusing and non-specific. So make an effort up there to be specific. Data scientist. If you must, choose 2 roles, but please never more than 2. It needs to be absolutely clear, okay? And then you can also, I showed you the technical skills earlier, you can have that profile on your LinkedIn in the About section, or you can, if you have prior work experience in that, make clear your technical skills profile, and then actually say what you're looking for, really who you are and what you're looking for, what your strength is, where you want to work, what type of company you want to work. Because if you have it like you have it here, yeah, I'm looking for a new challenge in Barcelona, Madrid, or Lisbon. Okay, a recruiter, and it may be an independent recruiter or a company recruiter working in or for data in Barcelona, Madrid, or Lisbon, they now know that you're looking for that. That is good news, okay? October 2021, this was a while ago. But if it's like 3 to 6 months ahead, oh yeah, you're actually available now. Oh, I can talk to you. Okay. And what type of company are you looking for? So it says here, a business team mitigating climate change and reducing the carbon footprint. Actually, this person found that job. Yeah. The point is then, I have something with data and climate change. Either I'm a company dedicated to that, or I'm in a larger company that needs to tackle this. Here's somebody who really wants to do this, possibly an expert, wanting to work in Madrid. I'm in Madrid. I want to do this. I want to talk to you. I mean, it's kind of like obvious, right? The right person looking at this with a human eye can actually then say yes. And I think this is absolutely vital to a successful search. And here is another one. A data analyst with a PhD in computation physics and big data experience actively looking for a new role in Hamburg, Germany, or French-speaking Europe. And this is the thing, you can be specific. Obviously, she speaks English, German, and also French natively very well. So these were her options. Then she said, there's 3 years in algo development, high performance computing, and data visualization. And for finance and logistics and ML innovation, the high performance computing actually is relevant. Okay. So look at what you want, look at what you've got, and wrap it into a statement that is easily understandable. And by the way, a statement that is also easily understandable for somebody in HR. And somebody in HR can understand this. There are enough keywords in here that they can relate to. Algorithm development is general enough. High performance computing, everybody has heard of or can at least quickly Google, and the answer is really clear. Okay. And then if you're a company in finance, logistics, or ML innovation, there you go, it fits. So this is how this works. Okay, we have like 3 minutes left. I don't have any current questions coming in. So I'm showing you again the web link where you can go and leave your details if you would like to apply. It also explains more, it gives more details, it explains a bit what the company is, and you can use also this landing page to collect further information. It even outlines the curriculum, it shows you who the trainers would be, really some of the leading people in Europe, so this you're getting the best possible training. And you can independently verify that. Yeah, you can go and find those people on LinkedIn and you will see that these are the leading lights. And then I was speaking today on behalf of the AI Guild. That is a community with 1,600 practitioners with 2 to 20 years of experience. The community does take applications. So generally, if you fit the bill, you are a practitioner, your admission will proceed. Okay, then from my side, actually, this is thank you very much for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I have adequately answered your questions. If you know anybody that should actually be looking at this, please tell a friend. Good luck with your job search. And please remember, a practitioner of 1,600 people, practitioner community of 1,600 people also means there are lots of people that are in companies that are hiring. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and perhaps see you next time.